Ladies and gentlemen, there is a kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any knife. It does not come from the stranger in the dark or the enemy in the shadows. No, it comes from the ones who share your name, your memories, your blood. There is a particular kind of pain that words often fail to capture. It is not the sting of a wound or the ache of an old scar, but something deeper, something that lingers beneath the surface of the skin, in the very marrow of your being. It is the pain of being rejected by those who were supposed to love you the most, the ones who brought you into this world, who raised you, who should have protected you, turning their backs, closing their doors, silencing your voice. It is a pain that is quiet but deafening, invisible but consuming. It is the kind of pain that leaves you questioning your own worth. In the beginning you try to rationalize it. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe it was a mistake. Perhaps they did not mean it. And if you just tried a little harder, bent a little more, they would see you again, love you again, welcome you back. And so you shrink yourself. You learn what not to say, what parts of yourself to hide. You make yourself smaller in the hope that if you fit into their narrow expectations, they will finally accept you. But the truth is, no matter how much you twist and mold yourself into something more palatable, it will never be enough for those who have already decided to reject you. Rejection by family is not always loud. It is not always a slamming door or an angry outburst. Sometimes it is the slow, quiet erosion of your place among them. The way conversations fade when you enter the room. The way your successes are ignored, your presence tolerated rather than embraced. Sometimes it is the absence of something that cuts the deepest. The absence of warmth, of inclusion, of a sense of belonging. And when you finally understand that the love you sought will not come, it feels like the ground beneath you is crumbling. If the people who should have loved you unconditionally do not, then who will? If the ones who have known you since birth cannot accept you, then what does that say about you? It is in this moment that the mind begins its cruel work. The questions come like waves, relentless and overwhelming. What did I do wrong? Am I broken? Am I unlovable? You search for answers where there are none. You replay moments, dissect words, trace every memory like a detective hunting for clues, hoping to uncover the mistake you must have made. But here is the truth that few dare to admit. You did not fail them. They failed you. People reject what they do not understand. They turn away from what challenges them, from what forces them to look at themselves too closely. Sometimes their rejection has nothing to do with you at all, and everything to do with their own fears, their own shortcomings, their own inability to love beyond their own limitations. Some families are bound by blood, but divided by something far more powerful: pride, insecurity, jealousy, tradition, or even fear of change. And when you do not fit within the mold they have cast for you, they would rather discard you than reshape their perception. There is an unspoken rule in families, one that demands loyalty even at the cost of your own well-being. Stay silent, stay small. Do not challenge the roles that have been assigned to you. But what if your very existence is an act of defiance? What if you cannot simply mold yourself into the version of you that they prefer? Then you are left with a choice: betray yourself for their approval, or accept their rejection and walk away with your dignity intact. It is one of the hardest truths to accept, but it is also the most liberating. You do not need to earn the love of those who withhold it from you. Love is not a reward for obedience. It is not something you have to fight for, beg for, or prove yourself worthy of. Real love, true love, does not demand that you diminish yourself to be deserving of it. It does not turn its back on you when you refuse to conform. And the moment you realize this, the weight begins to lift. The pain of rejection does not vanish overnight. It lingers. It resurfaces in unexpected moments: a holiday spent alone, a memory triggered by an old song, a silence on the other end of the phone where a familiar voice should have been. But over time, that pain becomes something else. It becomes a lesson, a transformation, a quiet strength that grows within you. It teaches you what love should and should not be. It teaches you that blood may connect people, but it does not guarantee loyalty, kindness, or understanding. And most importantly, it teaches you that the love you deserve is still out there. You just may need to build it with people who choose you, rather than people who were assigned to you by birth. One day you will look back, and the ache will not be as sharp. One day you will see that their rejection was not a reflection of your worth, but of their own inability to love properly. And on that day, you will realize that the family you were born into does not define you. The family you create, the people who see you, who embrace you, who accept you as you are, those are the ones who matter. You were never unworthy. You were simply surrounded by those too blind to see your value. The idea that family love is unconditional is one of the most powerful illusions we are taught from childhood. It is whispered in bedtime stories, reinforced in films, and written into the fabric of our beliefs. We are told that no matter what happens, our family will always be there, that they will love us regardless of our mistakes, our choices, our differences. And yet, for many, this is not the reality we experience. What happens when that unconditional love is tested? What happens when you speak a truth they do not want to hear? When you step outside the lines they have drawn for you? When you become something they never expected? Suddenly, that love has limits. Suddenly, that love has conditions. And the most painful part is not just realizing that those conditions exist, but understanding that they may have always been there, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. For some, this betrayal is gradual, a slow withdrawal of affection, a series of subtle reminders that they are not truly accepted, small criticisms that chip away at confidence, disapproving glances that make them question their choices, conversations that turn cold and distant. Over time, the message becomes clear. We love you, but only if you remain who we want you to be. For others, the rejection is swift and brutal. A single moment, a single decision, and suddenly they are cast out. It may be because they chose a different path, one that does not align with the family's expectations. It may be because they refused to conform, refused to suppress their true selves. It may even be because they exposed a truth that the family was unwilling to face. Whatever the reason, the result is the same. Love that once seemed unwavering is withdrawn, leaving behind only silence and pain. It is a cruel realization to understand that the love you thought was unconditional was in fact dependent on your obedience, your conformity, your silence. But here is where the truth must be faced. Not all love is pure. Not all love is selfless. Some love is transactional, given only in exchange for compliance. Some love is selfish, demanding sacrifice without offering support in return. And some love is simply an illusion, something that existed only when it was convenient. Does this mean that all families are incapable of true unconditional love? No. There are those who will stand by you no matter what, who will embrace you even when you disappoint them, who will choose love over pride, over fear, over control. But if you are among those who have felt the sting of rejection from the people who were supposed to love you most, then you must face a difficult truth. You cannot force them to love you in the way you deserve. It is a painful road to walk, but in that pain, there is also clarity. The absence of their acceptance does not mean you are unworthy. Their rejection does not define your value. You do not need to shrink yourself to fit into their narrow definition of love. You do not need to become someone else just to earn their approval. Love that comes with conditions is not the love that will nourish you, that will help you grow, that will heal your wounds. So, what do you do when you realize that the love you relied on was never truly unconditional? You grieve, yes. You feel the weight of that loss, because it is a loss. But then you move forward. You redefine what love means to you. You seek out the people who will embrace you for who you are, without demands, without ultimatums. You create the family you never had, the family that will not ask you to be anyone but yourself. Family is often seen as the foundation of our existence, the unshakable bond that defines who we are. We are told from a young age that family will always be there for us, that blood is thicker than water, and that no matter what happens, those who share our lineage will stand by our side. But reality has a way of dismantling illusions. And for some, family is not a refuge, it is a battlefield. The painful truth is that not every rejection is a misunderstanding, nor is every betrayal accidental. There are reasons, some visible and some buried beneath years of resentment, that drive families to turn against their own. The roots of such betrayal are tangled in human nature itself, in fears, insecurities, pride, and the desperate need for control. One of the most common reasons families reject one of their own is the fear of difference. When you do not fit the mold, when you dare to think differently, believe in something beyond their understanding, or chase a life that does not align with their expectations, you become a threat. A family is often built on shared values, traditions, and ways of thinking, and when one member strays from that, it disrupts the balance. Instead of seeking to understand, many families choose to cast out the outsider in an effort to preserve their own sense of normalcy. There is also the weight of generational trauma. Many parents raise their children not with love, but with control, carrying forward the wounds inflicted upon them. They do not know how to nurture, they only know how to impose. When a child grows into an adult and refuses to continue the cycle, when they demand respect, when they question the old ways, when they refuse to be controlled, the family sees it as defiance rather than growth. And instead of embracing the evolution of a new generation, they reject it. Then there is envy, a silent, corrosive force that exists even within blood ties. We do not like to think of family members as jealous of one another, but it happens more often than we admit. A sibling, a cousin, even a parent can feel threatened by the success or happiness of another. If you rise beyond what they expected of you, if you achieve what they never could, resentment begins to fester. And for some, rather than celebrate you, they choose to diminish you. They reject you because your existence is a painful reminder of their own failures. But perhaps the most heartbreaking betrayal is when love within a family is transactional. Some people are only accepted as long as they serve a purpose: obedience, validation, financial support, or emotional servitude. The moment they step out of that role, the love is withdrawn. It is a cruel reality to face, but some family relationships are built not on love, but on usefulness. When you are no longer useful, you are no longer wanted. Rejection does not always come in the form of open hostility. Sometimes it is quieter, more subtle. It is in the way they stop calling, in the way they dismiss your achievements, in the way they make you feel like an outsider in your own home. It is in the looks, the silence, the absence. And over time you begin to understand that their rejection is not a sudden act. It has been happening slowly, over years, piece by piece, until one day you realize you no longer belong. The pain of being betrayed by your own blood is unlike any other. It is not just the loss of a relationship, it is the loss of a foundation you believed was unshakable. It forces you to question everything: your worth, your past, your very identity. But here is what you must understand: their rejection is not a reflection of you, it is a reflection of them. You are not unworthy of love because they could not love you. You are not flawed because they refuse to accept you. People reject what they do not understand. They turn away from what forces them to confront their own shortcomings, and often they push away the ones who were meant to break the cycle. So what do you do when the ones who were supposed to protect you instead push you away? You grieve, yes, but you do not beg for love that must be earned through suffering. You do not shrink yourself to fit into a space too small for your spirit. You walk away not because you do not care, but because you deserve more. The truth is, family is not defined by blood alone. It is defined by love, by respect, by choice. If those who share your blood cannot offer you the love you deserve, then you must seek it elsewhere. Surround yourself with those who see you, who cherish you, who do not require your pain as proof of your loyalty. You may have lost the family you were born into, but you have the power to build a new one that is not rooted in obligation, but in genuine connection, one that is not bound by the past, but by a shared future, and in that you will find peace. Breaking free from the chains of familial rejection is not an easy path, but it is a necessary one. When those who share your blood turn their backs on you, it can feel as though the world itself has cast you aside. The pain is not just in the loss of relationships, it is in the loss of identity, the sense of belonging that was once unquestioned. You find yourself adrift, wondering if you are somehow unworthy of love, if something within you is inherently flawed. But let me tell you this: rejection from family does not define your worth. It does not dictate your future. It does not own you. At first, the weight of abandonment feels unbearable. You replay the moments in your mind, searching for what you could have done differently. You blame yourself, thinking that if only you had been quieter, stronger, more obedient, less of a burden, then perhaps they would have stayed. But that is the trap, the cruel lie that rejection whispers in your ear. It wants you to believe that the fault is yours, so that you never look beyond it, so that you remain shackled by the pain of their choices. But you must understand this fundamental truth. Not all rejection is a reflection of who you are. Sometimes it is a reflection of who they are. Some people reject what they cannot control. Some reject what they do not understand. And some reject simply because they are too consumed by their own wounds to see the damage they inflict on others. So how do you rise above it? How do you escape the gravitational pull of their abandonment? The first step is acceptance, not of their rejection, but of reality itself. They may never change. They may never offer the apology you deserve. They may never see you for who you truly are. Waiting for their validation is like waiting for a storm to apologize for the rain. You cannot hold your breath forever, hoping that one day they will wake up and realize your worth. You must grant yourself the freedom they never did. You must choose to step forward without their approval. This is not an easy task. It means grieving, not just the loss of family, but the loss of the idea of family. It means confronting the painful truth that some doors, once closed, should never be reopened. It means understanding that love, real love, is not something that should have to be earned through suffering. And once you accept this truth, you will begin to see the world differently. You will realize that family is not limited to those bound to you by blood. Family is found in the ones who stand by you when the world turns away. It is found in the friend who listens without judgment, in the mentor who guides you, in the partner who sees you fully and embraces you without hesitation. It is found in the people you choose, in the love you cultivate beyond the ruins of what was lost. The journey forward requires strength, but not the kind of strength that forces you to carry the weight of their rejection. True strength is in letting go. It is in allowing yourself to feel the pain, but not allowing it to define you. It is in choosing to build a new life, even when the echoes of the past try to pull you back. You must reclaim your narrative. You are not the abandoned. You are not the unwanted. You are not the broken. You are someone who has endured, who has risen, who has taken the betrayal and turned it into resilience. There is a power in that, an unshakable, undeniable power. The very fact that you are here, that you are seeking to move forward, is proof of your strength. The power of self-worth is not just an idea. It is the foundation upon which you must build your life after rejection. When family, the very people who are supposed to nurture you, cast you aside, it can feel as if your worth has been erased. You question yourself. You wonder if you were the problem, if you were unlovable, if something in you was broken beyond repair. This is the silent poison of rejection. It makes you believe that your value is something that others have the right to determine. But the truth is, no one has that power over you unless you allow them to. From the moment we enter this world, we are conditioned to seek validation from those closest to us. We are taught that love is something to be earned, that our worth is measured by how much we please others. But what happens when the very people you seek approval from deny you? What happens when, no matter how much you give, how much you change, how much you try to be what they want, it is never enough? You spiral. You begin to internalize their rejection as a reflection of your own inadequacy. And this is the greatest lie that rejection whispers in your ear, that you are not enough. But listen carefully now. Your worth is not a mirror reflecting the opinions of those who have failed to see you. It is not something that fluctuates based on the acceptance or rejection of others. It is something that exists within you, independent of anyone else's recognition. The moment you stop looking to others to define your value is the moment you set yourself free. Self-worth is not arrogance. It is not about thinking you are better than anyone else. It is about knowing, deep in your bones, that you deserve respect, love, and kindness, not because of what you do, but simply because you exist. It is about recognizing that your pain does not diminish your value. Your rejection does not diminish your value. Even your mistakes do not diminish your value. When family rejects you, the wound is deep, because it strikes at the very core of who you are. But rejection is not always about you, it is often about them. People reject what they do not understand. They push away what challenges them. They fear what reminds them of their own weaknesses. If you were cast out because you did not fit their mold, it says more about their limitations than it does about your worth. You must learn to separate their perception of you from your truth. The journey to reclaiming your self-worth is not easy. It requires you to unlearn years of conditioning. It demands that you stop apologizing for who you are. It asks you to stand tall, even when you feel like collapsing under the weight of your past. And above all, it calls you to love yourself. Not in a shallow, temporary way, but in a way that is fierce, unwavering, and absolute. Loving yourself after rejection is an act of defiance. It is looking in the mirror and refusing to see yourself through the eyes of those who could not love you. It is deciding every single day that you are enough, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. You will have moments of doubt. There will be days when the past haunts you, when their words echo in your mind, when you feel alone in your struggle. But even in those moments, your worth remains unchanged. It does not waver. It does not fade. It is there, waiting for you to embrace it. There is no closure in rejection. The apologies you long for may never come. The explanations you seek may never be given. But you do not need their validation to move forward. You do not need their permission to heal. The power to define your worth has always been yours, and the day you claim it fully, without hesitation, is the day you truly begin to live. Building a new legacy is not just about moving forward. It is about transforming pain into purpose. When those who share your blood turn their backs on you, the wound runs deep. It leaves a scar, a reminder of rejection, a whisper in the back of your mind that tells you you were not enough. But that whisper is a lie. You were always enough. Their inability to see your worth was never a reflection of you. It was a reflection of their limitations. The pain of family rejection has a way of distorting reality. It makes you believe that if the people who were meant to love you unconditionally could not, then no one else will. It convinces you that you are fundamentally unlovable, that something within you is broken beyond repair. But this is where you must break the cycle, because if you allow their rejection to define you, you are still living under their shadow. You are still carrying their weight on your shoulders, dragging their judgment through every step of your journey. And you deserve more than that. You did not come into this world to beg for love. You did not fight through the darkness only to settle for less than what you deserve. You have the power to create something new, something stronger, something that cannot be taken away by those who failed to see your worth. A legacy is not built on what you have lost. One of the greatest truths you must embrace is that family is not defined by blood alone. It is defined by the ones who choose you, who stand by you, who see your worth even when you feel unworthy. Some of the most powerful, life-changing relationships you will ever experience will come from those who are not related to you. They will come from friends who become siblings, mentors who become parents, partners who become home. But before you can find these people, you must first become the person who believes they deserve them. If you are filled with resentment, if you are clinging to the hope that those who rejected you will one day change, you will not have space to welcome the love that is waiting for you elsewhere. Let go of the hope that they will apologize. Release the need for closure. You do not need their validation to heal. Healing does not mean pretending you were never hurt. It means acknowledging the pain, understanding its lessons, and choosing to rise despite it. It means deciding that your past will not dictate your future. Every great story is built on struggle, on loss, on moments that test the soul. And in those moments you have a choice. You can allow them to break you, or you can allow them to shape you into something greater. The legacy you build will not be about proving them wrong. It will not be about seeking revenge through success. It will be about living fully, about embracing joy without guilt, about surrounding yourself with love that does not demand suffering in return. It will be about becoming the person you needed when you were younger. It will be about ensuring that no one else feels the loneliness you once did. If you were betrayed by blood, then let your legacy be one of loyalty, of chosen love, of unwavering strength. Let it be a testament that you were never the problem. You were simply placed in the wrong hands. And now, you have the power to rewrite your story. You are not destined to repeat the past. You are not doomed to remain in the cycle of pain and rejection. You are free to create something new, something beautiful, something that will outlive the wounds of yesterday. Your legacy is not about where you came from. It is about where you are going. And the best part? You get to decide that.